Hello, everyone. In this episode, we will be covering the topic global sourcing for the International Business Series. We'll start now. Global sourcing. The major factors determining the input output ratio, output volume, cost, and quality are the appropriateness and cost of technology and quality and cost of other inputs. A great advantage of globalization is the opportunity to source them from the best source anywhere in the world. Encouraged by the success of the Japanese industry, outsourcing became so prominent in the United States that an increasing dependence on outside suppliers during the decade of 1980s helped reverse a trend towards increased vertical integration that had been occurring for almost a century. In other words, the 1980s witnessed a trend towards this de-integration or the emergence of hollow manufacturing companies. Outsourcing has been much more conspicuous with the Japanese industries than others. For instance, typically figures of about 60 to 70% outsourcing for Toyota versus 30 to 40% for General Motors were reported. The successful use of higher percentage of subcontracting by Toyota, Nissan and other Japanese automotive companies has been cited increasingly in recent years as a model for United States managers who have increased their own outsourcing. As a result of the massive outsourcing program, GM's, that is General Motors, share of parts and components produced in-house was predicted to drop from 60% to 45% by the end of 1980s. Much of the increased sourcing over the past decade or so has been global in nature. Many companies have adopted global sourcing as a major competitive strategy. A survey of 1,000 US buyers by purchasing indicated that 71% of respondents were making offshore purchases compared to 46% 10 years ago. Approximately 70% of the respondents indicated that their volume of foreign purchases was increasing and that the upward trend was expected to continue in the foreseeable future. The Business Week, in a special report, observed that US manufacturers were pursuing a strategy of outsourcing, buying parts or whole products from other producers, both at home and abroad, with a vengeance. Some of the offshore sourcing was in fact accompanied by plant or product line closings in the United States as US manufacturers sought the advantage of cheaper labor abroad, either in their own plants or from others. According to the survey conducted by purchasing, the reasons for offshore purchases are the following, listed in the order of importance: lower price, better quality, only source available, more advanced technology, more consistent attitude, more cooperative delivery, counter trade requirements. It may be noted that besides the aforementioned, outsourcing has certain other advantages. It reduces the capital and manpower requirements. It may also impart more flexibility to adjust to certain conditions such as recession. While the trend of outsourcing is growing, studies suggest that companies need to take a more cautious approach towards it. Davis points out that considerable part of evidence suggests that the outsourcing decisions made in the past by the US firms have, in many, if not most, cases uh, been made with inadequate or incomplete information or for the wrong reasons. The predominant focus on cost in these decisions is questionable for several reasons. Recent revelations against current cost accounting inaccuracies, the failure to properly include currency exchange factors, and inability to evaluate all hidden costs. Further outsourcing often forces firms to confront a category of issues aside from profit and cost. These include flexibility, customer service, and ultimately core competence that relate to long-run competitiveness. Davis therefore argues that top managers should be more wary of outsourcing recommendation than they have been in the past. For example, despite the current sourcing trend and in the absence of better cost data, there still may be strong competitive reasons today to consider the advantages of in-house manufacturing. Second, they should take firm steps to improve the costings information used by their accounting, finance, and purchase departments. Finally, top managers should attempt to integrate their manufacturing and business strategies better than they have in the past. Many developing countries have taken a lot of advantage of the outsourcing trend. India has been increasingly taking advantage of global outsourcing trend. The Indian auto components industry need a special mention here. Production sharing is a natural corollary of growing international sourcing. Production sharing, a term introduced by Drucker, refers to the practice of carrying out different stages of manufacturing of a product in several countries. Such production sharing has become quite common in many industries, including high technology and sophisticated products. The technical development and designing may be done in one country. The various components may be manufactured in different countries. The assembling may be done in some other countries. The product may be marketed globally. For example, the parts and components of motor car finally assembled in US or European countries are obtained from large number of suppliers in different countries. In short, what is marketed as an American car or German car is not purely American or German, but really transnational. Most of the parts and components of the IBM personal computer sold in the US under the label made in USA are manufactured abroad. According to the data given in one report in 1985, nearly three-fourths of the total manufacturing cost of IBM PC has accounted for by the parts and components manufactured overseas. US owned plants overseas supplied more than one third of these foreign parts and components. Drucker argues that the practice of production sharing will be the most important form of economic integration needed by developed and developing countries alike. In production sharing, the resources of developing countries, their abundant labor for traditional jobs, are brought together with the resources of developed countries, their management, their technology, their educated people, their markets, and purchasing power. He further argues that production sharing is the best hope, perhaps the only hope for most of the developing countries to survive without catastrophe, the explosive expansion of working age people in search of a job. Developing countries can, of course, benefit immensely by production sharing, but to argue that it is the only hope is to grossly underestimate the potential of the developing countries. Further, Drucker does not appear to have paid sufficient attention to the fact that the sustained substantial production sharing takes place between advanced economies. An interesting fallout of the production sharing is that a ban on the import of production could mean harm to some industrial units in that country, which are the parties to the production sharing. Thus, when shoe workers union in United States or shoe manufacturers in North Carolina agitate for a ban on importation of cheap foreign imports, no no cattle grower in the Great Plains realizes that they are actually agitating to ban the export of American hides, out of which the shoes are manufactured, or which is the livelihood on which the livelihood depends. A number of components are outsourced in respect of products like automobiles. For example, Toyota Kirloskar Motors, located in Bidadi near Bangalore, sources globally a large number of parts in Kalis. In India, 43 to 57 vendors are as far away as Delhi, Chennai, and Pune, but it still manages to source parts only as and when needed. For instance, the maximum raw material inventory the Bidadi shop floor stocks is an incredible 2 hours. No finished product stays on the factory premises for more than 48 hours and no dealer is sent more than 15 days. So, just how does Toyota do it? The trick lies in its famous milk run, which involves picking up small quantities of supplies from vendors throughout the day. This is how it works every morning. Small trucks leave a central stocking point. There is one each in Pune, Delhi, and Chennai, picking up supplies from the local vendors. These trucks then return to the hub, where supplies are transferred to a bigger truck, which leaves for TKM every day. For vendors based in and around Bangalore, the milk runs are from the plant to the vendor and back. The cost implications of such lean manufacturing are huge. If KTM were to only increase its raw materials inventory by half, the impact on the bottom lines would be significant. Margins are getting smaller and smaller in the auto industry. Have no choice manufacturers have no choice but to run the tightest of ships. Several foreign firms, including Ford Motor Company, have been planning to make India a global sourcing hub for components of finished products. A number of Indian firms are doing contract manufacturing products marketed abroad by foreign firms abroad. Partnering and relationship marketing. Buyer-supplier relationship is emerging as a very important strategic element in industrial marketing. The conventional win-lose approach is giving way to a dynamic and enduring win-win mindset. It is pointed out that never before in the history of man's industrial endeavor has the value of building effective and responsive relationship between suppliers and customers been more crucial to the survival of free market enterprise than today. A Neil Buff and Bradenberger point out one strategy that co-opetition emphasizes is working with what we term complementers. A complementer is the opposite of a competitor. It's someone who makes our products and services worse rather than less valuable. Not surprisingly, the complementer or concept is especially relevant to the builders of the information economy. Hardware needs software and the internet needs high speed phone lines. No one alone can build the infrastructure for the new economy. It's a whole new system made up of many complementary parts, as they further exemplify. In fact, most businesses succeed only if others also succeed. The demand for Intel chips increases with when Microsoft creates more powerful software. Microsoft becomes more valuable when Intel produces faster chips. It's a mutual success rather than mutual direction. It's a win-win. The Cold War is over and along with it, the old assumption about competition. The benefits reaped by the Japanese industry by the collaborative relationship have encouraged industry in other parts of the world, particularly North America and Western Europe, to rethink and re-strategize the supplier-customer relationship. For example, Philips has laid down supplier partnership as one of the 5 principles of its quality philosophy, and the multinational cultivate supplier relationships based on trust and cooperation, sharing experience and expertise to benefit not only the buyer and the supplier but also the end customer. Philips and its suppliers jointly develop technology, solve problems, learn from experience, and try to avoid errors and misunderstandings. A look at the three categories of suppliers of Philips would indicate the emerging pattern of buyer supplier relationship. Supplier partners. These are the most important suppliers, albeit might be the smallest group among the three. Philips builds intense involved relationship with them. An important focus of the cooperation is innovation, the development of new expertise and new opportunities. These suppliers might well have essential knowledge and expertise that Philips could not otherwise access or develop for itself. This makes these suppliers extremely significant strategically, as their loss could seriously undermine Philips' current business and future direction. Preferred suppliers. This category is important than the first, and not the s- there is not the same degree of mutual dependence as in the first category. The company works closely with them on issues such as quality, logistics, and price to gain mutual benefit. The suppliers may also adapt themselves to some extent to suit Philips' requirements. Commercial suppliers. Commercial suppliers, these are the least important suppliers, and although the company will encourage better performance in terms of quality, etc., it is unlikely to get involved in helping the supplier to achieve it. The strategic importance of collaborative relationship is so well appreciated across government and industry associations that there have been significant efforts to promote partnering. For example, the Department of Trade and Industry UK has established a collaborative project namely Partnership Sourcing Limited. According to PSL, Partnership Sourcing Limited is a commitment by both customers and suppliers, regardless of size, to a long-term relationship based on a clear mutually agreed objectives to strive for world-class capability and competitiveness. According to Anderson and Nares, partnering is a process where customer firm, and supplier firm form strong and extensive social, economic, service, and technical ties over time with the intent of lowering total cost and increasing value, thereby achieving mutual benefit. As Saunders points out, it can be claimed that the commitment to a relationship partnership transcends any single agreement for the supply of business arrangements in future. Generally, the goods or services to be exchanged as well as logistics of arrangements will be specially tailored to meet the needs of the immediate customer and the supply chains as a whole. Both parties invest resources in meeting the specific needs of the partnership as a concrete demonstration of their commitment. Partnering, sharply characterized by win-win approach, contrasts with the conventional transactional relationship or adversarial relationship characterized by win-lose attitude. In the adversarial approach, the price and other terms and conditions are affected by relative bargaining powers of the buyers and sellers, where the buyer is large and powerful and the suppliers are many whose bargaining power is weak. The buyer tends to exploit the situation by multi-sourcing, keeping supplier alert and sweating. Cases of such buyer pressures driving suppliers into liquidation have been recorded. Although the buyer can make short-term gains by his dominant bargaining power, it can have long-term repercussions. In a collaborative approach, close ties are forged between buyer and seller, and there is much interest and value in close cooperation and integration. Such an approach can support valuable work in product design, specification and quality, advanced production process, flexible scheduling and delivery, and special inventory. There are, however, the risk of becoming too cozy, complacent, and blinkered, as well as the inherent dangers of mutual dependency. The supplier buyer relationship rests on trust. Seiko, who defines trust as a state of mind, an expectation held by one trading partner about another that the other behaves or responds in a predictable and mutually acceptable manner, suggests based on an investigation into inter-firm relationship in Britain and Japan that there are three types of trust, namely contractual trust, both parties keep their promises; competence trust, both partners can perform their role competently; goodwill trust, mutual expectation of open commitment to each other or willingness to do more than is expected. According to SECO, the contractual trust and competence trust are present in both arm's length contractual relation. ACR and obligation contractual relation OCR. ACR and OCR have some resemblance to the adversarial and partnership model. The distinctive feature of the OCR is the presence of the goodwill trust. That the results of partnering can be substantial is espoused by the following quotation relating to the automotive industry. Changes in the relationship between motor manufacturers and the suppliers are likely to have particularly profound effect on automotive industry in the UK and the rest of Europe. According to Hoffman and Kaplinski, alter contractual relations represent the most thoroughgoing organizational change the industry has yet seen since Sloan's reforms in General Motors in early 1920s. Life cycle models, buyer-supplier relationship. Attempts have been made to develop a model of the evolution and development of buyer relationship over time. Two such models, one developed by David Ford and the other by Dyer Shore and O, are summarized. According to the model of Dyer, the relationship is brought to close in the last phase. The final stage in the Ford model represents the relationship in its most developed forms. For example, one cannot rule out the possibility of even such relationship coming to an end later. If there is such a drastic change in diplomas in the technology, the supplier's product is no more required by the buyer, or the buyer or sellers by the buyer, or the buyer or seller finds substantially better alternative. The partnering should end. Selection of firms for collaboration. Anderson and Neres have presented a comprehensive strategic approach that offers managers guidance on decisions about which market segment and individual customer firms to target for close, collaborative relationship. Their approach consists of 6 stages as follows. Segment the market by product, application, and customer capability. Market segmentation will enable the company to identify the customer classes and within each customer class what use of the product provides more value addition to the customer. Market segmentation research may also reveal that within particular applications, subsegments of firms exist that differ significantly in their technical know-how, problem solving, or other capabilities. Access the value of the product offerings to customers in each segment. This is critical to investigate how the value of product offering to the customer can be enhanced, particularly with relationship. Target segment and customer firms with segments for various kinds of relationship. This stage involves the determination of the number of segments to be targeted, deciding which market segments will be targeted for collaborative relationship versus transactional approach, and identifying likely prospects for partnership versus transactional relations. Develop and implement relationship specific product offerings. As Levitt points out, as a supplier firm moves from transactional relationship to collaborative relationship, the product offering will change from a core product to an augmented product which is customized in terms of physical and service attributes to meet more demanding customer needs. Evaluate relationship outcomes and reassign accounts. Evaluation is necessary to gauge the utility success of the relationship and to take a measure for improvement if needed and feasible, or to reassign the accounts for more appropriate relationship. Periodically update the value of relationship offering. Even if the partnership appear to be going well, firms should avoid complacency and insidious relationship killer. They should constantly endeavor to identify new services and product modification that can increase customer value, as well as services needed to unbundled or curtailed. So that's the end of the episode. So the next we will be going ahead with uh, the next topic. So, for today, this is the end of our narration. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.